and welcome in. I hope you guys are all having a great sober morning, a great hangover free morning. If you're struggling, I'm glad that you're here taking the time out of your morning. It is 9:45 a.m. here, so a little bit earlier than normal, but I wanted to jump in and I got to get to work in a little bit. So I wanted to jump on here, touch base with you guys, and see how you're doing, have a little conversation about that alcohol voice, the one that keeps you addicted, the one it could actually be your addiction voice. Actually, it could be, but it's that voice that makes you, think about alcohol. It's that voice that tells you that you're not enough. It's that voice that tells you that alcohol will soothe your feelings, your anxious feelings, your regretful feelings, your guilt and shame feelings. It's that voice that we all have inside of us, that's there really for protection, but also it can be something that's a hindrance as well. And, it's a negative voice. And I don't know that it's necessarily separate from the voice that tells you to drink, or that voice that tells you that alcohol is going to help this situation. My experience is that they're kind of different. They're different voices. As someone who's been alcohol free 5 years, I can tell you uh, that there's still a voice in me that can be a negative voice, one that doesn't help, one that's hurtful, one that makes me not trust, one that makes me feel like I need to put it in its place, honestly. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Josh, living life alcohol free. If you're returning, thank you guys so much for being here. So that voice, that one that keeps us hooked on alcohol, that's kind of what I made this topic today. Was going back and forth about the alcohol voice, but I was also going back and forth about not drinking in December. So I kind of combine the two. I'll probably make a separate video just about that drinking voice. I made one like a year ago, but I think it's important to talk about that voice and how important it is to put a name to it. Early on in my recovery, I went in maybe to about 2 or 3 months, and I decided, "Good morning, Hypersonic. Welcome in." And I read a little bit. I read a lot of books when I first quit drinking, more books than I had read the previous year combined, probably, a lot of it being quit lit. But I came across something that was interesting, and I wanted to try it out. And it was naming your anxiety voice, naming that voice that it could be the voice that tells you that alcohol is going to help, but it also could be that voice that's making you anxious, or making you fear something or think about something in a negative light. And like I said, it can protect you. It's when it's holding you back or keeping you addicted to alcohol that it's the problem. And we need to put that voice in its place. So that voice early on, uh, the suggestion was to name that voice, um, put a name to it, so that when it comes calling, you can put it in its place, or call it out, or whatever makes you feel better. I mean, yeah, it feels good to swear at it. It feels good but it also feels good to just put it in its place. Um, so the suggestion was to name it after someone or something that really bothered you. It could be in childhood, it could be in adulthood. It doesn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is, if you put a name to it, you can attach that name, and you can put it in its place. So growing up, so I went back to my childhood, and growing up, I mean, I didn't have bullies in particular. I mean, we all have people that we don't like, that don't treat us well, but don't treat others well. But I was thinking back, and in school I didn't have that, but at a basketball camp when I was about 11 years old one summer, I had this little kid. kind of reminded me of the kid from A Christmas Story. You remember that the redheaded kid with the braces and the coonskin hat? Kind of reminded me of that guy. And then he had a couple of goons next to him. And but he was always like picking on me. And you know, being that like he was smaller than me, or I don't know, scrawnier maybe than me even, I was like, whatever, this guy, you know, he's ruining my week. But at the same time, I didn't want to, you know, cause any big deal. I had visions of like taking the fire extinguisher out and hosing him down, um, or you know, just pushing him down, whatever, you know. But I never did. But I took it out on him on the basketball court, and I totally dominated him, and it felt good. I don't remember if it stopped the. It was like it was more like verbal abuse than physical abuse. But at any rate, um, his name was Howie. And thinking about Howie and how I went back home after that week was up, and I started like wailing on this like side pillow on our couch, and it was like a oblong pillow, perfect like human kid size, and I would start pounding on it, and after a little bit of time, I asked my mom, "Can I name the pillow Howie? Because it feels good to beat on it." And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, go ahead." You know. So rather than like get me into therapy or help me talk through my feelings about that, she just said, "Yeah, go ahead." So I beat on this thing for like a week or two, you know, and until I got all that aggression and kind of forgot about it and forgot about him until now. And then I was in my first few months of recovery, and now I'm thinking I'm going to name this voice Howie. And every time, and this wasn't the drinking voice because I was kind of already to a point where I wasn't thinking about alcohol as much, or at least turning to alcohol. Uh, but it was that voice um, that makes you feel like you got to worry about this. And being that I had kids and stuff like that, there was always situations where I was feeling particularly anxious. I was home a lot. You know, it was during the pandemic, so we were all home all the time, all together. And I've noticed that voice coming out a lot when I would see like clutter around the house or messes or whatever. And you know, I felt like they should be picking up at the same time. I recognize they're kids. They forget stuff. They leave stuff. It's like whatever. And every time though that voice would come up where I would want to like take like yell at the kids, I had to think like, you know, fuck you, Howie. You're making me think things and want to react in a way that's not going to help me, not going to help my kids, not going to help the circumstance at all. And I started thinking about that voice, and that was the same kind of voice, maybe a different person or a different like you want to attach a different name to that entity. I would call it like an entity. I posted a meme the other day on the community, and it was that voice, that drinking voice. When I say I shouldn't drink tonight, and it was this. If you've ever seen the movie Smile or Smile 2, it was kind of like this lady with the big teeth, the big eyes, smiling at you, and it's like that's the voice, that's the alcohol voice. It's like I have better ideas, you know, I have different ideas, you know. It's gonna help you feel better. It's gonna help you relax. It's gonna make you forget about all your problems. It's gonna, you know, all these things. Um, and if I were still drinking and I was able to name that voice and I knew about that, I probably would have used that tool. So here I am, 5 plus years alcohol free, and sharing it with you guys that maybe some of you aren't drinking, um, but you still have that anxiety voice. Maybe some of you are drinking, and you have that voice, but you also have the anxiety voice too. There's two, like I said, there's two different um, voices that can hurt our situation when it seems like it's helping, it seems like it's making things better, um, but at the same time it's making things worse. And welcome, Maynard, welcome in. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about this month in particular. It's stressful for a lot of us. um, Maybe we're, if we celebrate Christmas, maybe we're shopping, maybe we are, going out into the crowds, maybe money's tight, so buying things is stressful and hard to reconcile in our minds or justify spending this money on different items for people or for ourselves. Maybe it's, we're struggling with our drinking, and it helps to kind of quiet those voices, but at the same time it's that voice that's holding us back. So that's one tool that I can tell you that worked for me for that anxiety in recovery early on. And yeah, thinking about family first is important, especially, like I say, for me. I battled for a long time, 10 years, frankly, um, from the time I met my wife and got married to 2020, with, I feel like I need to say certain things at certain times to her or the kids, and I don't think it through all the way. I don't think about the ramifications of what I'm saying. Like, a lot of this stuff needed to be said, but it's the tone, it's the way it's said, it's the anger and the things that can be misinterpreted. Easy for me to say. um, Misinterpreted, by our family, our kids, I mean, even our friends. You know what I mean? Like, if we're coming straight out of anger, uh, we're gonna leave a lasting impression, and we can push people away by doing that. And so that's what I was trying to accomplish by naming that anxiety voice. And I'd say I called out Howie probably like 5 or 6 times every hour when I was at home dealing with those stressful situations, probably 100 times in a day, for a few days, and then it kind of slowly went away after a few more days. And I'd say after like a week or two, I found myself not calling that voice out anymore. And I felt like, you know what, I'm kind of not as anxious anymore. And I'm not feeling like I need to call out these people anymore as much as I did before. I don't feel like I need to calm myself down as much as I uh, needed to before. And maybe I turned a corner, and it was around 6 months when I finally was like, I don't I don't feel as anxious anymore. I had my last like real lash out like around like 4 or 5 months, and I told my therapist, I said, I think I can go off the Zoloft now. I think I can kind of start to wrap up therapy, or at least cut down to like maybe once a month now, because I had been going once a week. And that was a huge tool, and I don't remember where I read that, or learned that I got that idea. Like I said, I did a lot of research on my own aside from This Naked Mind, the book, and the community that I joined. Uh, Obviously, I learned a lot through therapy. My therapist was very knowledgeable about addiction recovery, and was able to help me talk through a lot of those things. But at the same time, like, I learned a lot on my own, researching things and reading and even watching like videos like this um, early on in my recovery. So, but that's the same. It's like I said, it's the same voice, that anxiety voice that tempts us to drink alcohol or do drugs or whatever it is that we're using to cope. That when we try to battle it, it wins out a lot of times, and it wins out because we don't have the tools to put it in its place, or maybe we're not aware of it, and like my therapist used to say, awareness is the opposite of ignorance. And that just means that a lot of us that are drinking, we choose to stay ignorant about alcohol or the problems that we are having with alcohol. And it's not necessarily like it's a bad thing. I mean, it, once you learn the truth about alcohol, you can't unlearn it. And when I learned what I learned by reading This Naked Mind by Annie Grace, Alcohol Explained by William Porter, and then through the group This Naked Mind, and then through all my friends and all the people and members of that, uh, was that alcohol. There's scientific reasons why we become addicted to it. Uh, it rewires our brain, and once we're wired into being an addict, it's hard to get out of that. And when we try it and we fail, we get discouraged, and then we go right back into it, and then we choose to not learn about alcohol or drugs or whatever it is, and we choose to not learn about ourselves. We choose to I don't know who that is. Bam Margera. I'll have to look it up afterwards. But welcome in, Sean. Welcome in. Yeah. So we actively decide we're just gonna, stay in that perpetual cycle. And a friend of mine, a long time ago, used to say, if you could be like Homer Simpson on The Simpsons, oblivious to everything, oblivious to what's going on in the world, oblivious to your own issues, would you want that? And he was like, absolutely. Like, it's so much less miserable to just put your head in the sand and stay oblivious. So, I mean, I did that for years and years. In total, over 20. I mean, I drank for 27 years. So, but I didn't really recognize the issues until I was like a little bit later, later teenage years and early 20s, especially after I could buy alcohol. That was really when it changed. What about you guys? When did you guys realize that you had a problem with alcohol? Uh, for me, it was definitely 19 to 21. I mean, I got that DUI, which I posted that video yesterday, and I didn't realize that was going to be so. I wouldn't say controversial, but could spark some thoughts from people. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was just really to share my experience with that, and maybe and try to help other people. But yeah, I ignored it from 19 to 21. Then when I turned 21, I was able to buy alcohol now in the States, and I was just buying 6 packs the first week or two, like just bringing home a 6 pack every day, and then tolerance goes up, and you're just like, whatever. I had a mini fridge in my room. I had a roommate in an apartment, but yeah, I put my beers in the mini fridge, and I'd have it there all day a night. And that's really just when it became a real big issue, because I'd closed off and just drank in isolation. Um, so, but yeah, yeah. Enough about that. This topic's really just about that voice and 50 years of pot. Wow. I mean, hey, in a lot of ways, I think pot's better than alcohol. I can't use it anymore. If I could, I probably would have turned to it when I quit drinking, just because, like I say, I mean, I don't think it's as bad as alcohol, but there is, I mean, whatever we're addicted to, and if it's a problem for us, then yeah, it's definitely worth investigating. Uh, because if it's holding you back, uh, certainly there's a voice within that is encouraging that behavior, because that's what we know. Like I said, that our brains are wired to use that chemical or whatever that is, alcohol or weed or whatever, mushrooms. Um, that we think it's helping. It is helping. I mean, in the short term, for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, I found with marijuana, just it made me like lazy. It made me not care about things as much. Which, if that's what you're going for, I had somebody tell me, um, who drinks and smokes, who's a acquaintance of mine, who's like, "Yeah, that's what I'm going for." um, and I mean, yeah, if that's what you're going for, that's what you're going to get. So, but yeah, there came a time that I wanted to change that behavior with alcohol, and then like when I was thinking about using weed, um, that I just would think, I don't want to add another addiction, but I don't think that I would add that addiction because, like I said, I couldn't use it because of the side effects that I would get. They were uncomfortable, heart palpitations, uh, paranoia, and it would last like a day. So I felt stoned, which was nice, but then I had those competing side effects which outdid it and made it not enjoyable. So I ultimately didn't turn to it, and I mean, but I still felt like I needed an escape. And looking back on it, that's another voice in our head. Like, if we're not um, satisfied with our circumstance in life, uh, we can have that voice in our head that's telling us that we need something to escape, whether that be drugs and alcohol, or like hookup culture, or escaping by taking like vacations, or isolating. Like, isolation is a huge thing. I struggled with that. I don't struggle with it anymore. When I'm by myself, I'm not. It's not like I'm going to isolate on purpose. Like, with everything that I do now, there's a purpose for it. And I mean, for you guys that follow me and know where I'm coming from, I mean, my faith is everything, and my purpose is for God's glory. That's what it's for each and every day, not my glory, not for me. Um, but I mean, I'm intentional with the things that I choose to do, intentional with the things that I choose to put in my body, intentional with my time, because it's valuable. And when we're drinking all the time, we don't care about time. Uh, but when I quit drinking, it was almost like so much time opened up, because I wasn't preoccupied by thoughts of alcohol anymore. I wasn't drinking alcohol anymore, but there was so much time that I spent with a hangover, or time that I spent anticipating a drinking session. I mean, regretting how much I drank, or trying to monitor how much I drank, when I could drink. what I could drink, all that stuff. And it's mental gymnastics. It's and then you get this anxiety and this monkey mind that's beating these drums and these cymbals, and you start to just get anxious all the time, and really you feel like the only thing that can quiet that down is alcohol. And so, yeah, it's not like I want to go back to those thoughts, but I feel like it's important for the group, um for this channel, and I like, there was a calling that I had early on to go through and talk about these experiences, and one of those experiences is those internal voices, those ones that hold us back. Naming it. Uh, Welcome in, Chris. And Chris says that's what happens when you know you aren't doing what you should do. Absolutely. If you know what, I mean, first of all, knowing what's right and wrong. That's important. And just because we're 21 and we're allowed to drink, or just because we're not driving, uh, we give ourselves permission to drink. And so, should I drink? Should I not drink? That's really just. One of the things that I've learned through recovery, but in particular faith, like my pastor says a lot, I should do this, I should do that, and but should. I mean, should I do that or should I do this? It's not a question of of should I do anything. Like, I should have done that or should have done this. Like, it's you do what you do, and you have intentionality for it. You have a purpose for it. Um, I don't particularly think I should be any particular way. I am who I am. Uh, I don't necessarily think that I should do this or that. Um, because I kind of put myself in a box. You kind of put yourself in a box when you think you should do a particular thing or not. Um, but yeah, I think that's a topic for another one. But uh, every time I feel like that, I look at what I'm not doing and I address it. It helps right away. When a man avoids his responsibilities and duties, if it is unintentional, it haunts him for sure. Yeah, I ruminated about my past for my entire drinking life. I would ruminate about things that happened 25, 30 years ago. Um, should I have done this? Should I have done that? What if? What would have happened if I made this choice or that choice? Would it make any difference? And that was one of the things I had to work on when I quit drinking, and it didn't happen right away. In fact, it was like the 10th thing that I addressed in my recovery. It was not far up the food chain. I noticed that there were steps that would surface. They would come to the surface naturally. I didn't have to force it. Uh, they just came on, and then it was like, all right, I can work on that now. And the ruminations were one thing that I wanted to work on, but I don't think I was ready. I think in a lot of this, especially just not drinking, quitting alcohol, uh, it's not going to happen until you're ready. Um, you can't really force these issues, and then, because if you try to force it, or if people try to force you, um, and you try to, it's like that analogy when you try to push the beach ball under the water. There's only so long you can hold that ball underwater till you have to let go and it pops back out. Same with like alcohol. If you try to force this and you don't have the will, you don't have the desire, to be done completely. You can't force it. You got to be ready. And then when you're ready, that's when the fun begins. It seems like, a lot of people say life is going to be boring. I fear that I won't have my crutch to lean on anymore. I fear all these things about quitting alcohol. But when you actually do put it down 100%, you put that voice in its place. I don't want it anymore. I don't need it. I don't need you. Quiet down, stay in your corner, go back to where you came from, whatever it is you have to say to that voice. Um, then when you're done, then you can hit these things head on, and it doesn't have to be scary. And it actually is fun. And yeah, there's things that come up that are not fun, certainly. And then, but exposing ourselves to those things, putting ourselves out there, putting ourselves in these situations where that's the only way that we can improve. That's the goal, and that's where the fun comes in, because uh, that's how we get to the other side of this, and then we live the life that we want to live, and we put it all in the past, in the rearview mirror. We're not, we're not thinking about it anymore. That's the beauty of it all. Um, yeah, rock bottom is a great foundation. When you can't go any further down, and I think that's different for everybody, but when you get to the depths, uh, and then you realize you learn those tools and you accumulate tools as you're going to that bottom, and then when you get to that bottom, you have all those tools that you can use, and then you can gain tools through recovery, add those up, and keep using them when you come to that. Sometimes you're not sure which one to reach for, and but that's where a community comes in. That's why we're here. That's why I've got that Facebook group, Sobriety in the Storm, that you can join. The link is pinned in all my videos. So yeah, I got to get to work. I'm glad you guys joined me this morning. I hope you have a great sober weekend. Don't forget to check in if you need anything. And thanks for being here. So have a great Thursday, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.